you're over the age of 50 and still active in your career, this is the video you're going to want to watch. We are going to talk about innovative careers that did not exist 20 years ago, but they are changing the game after COVID-19. Alright guys, let's get into this video and let's talk about these innovative careers that are popping forward in the year of 2023-2024. Okay, so first of all, let's just back up a little bit. I am 52 years old, so I was born in 1971. And we know that in our years, when we were in our 20s and 30s and kind of coming up, executive assistants, those type of jobs, sales, all of that was very fascinating to us, as well as medical. Medical was huge. So if you were a medical salesperson, you were on the path to greatness. Nursing, kind of all of those careers. But I'm talking about the more office type professional careers that we were looking at. And a lot of times the administrative assistant, executive assistant, those were the jobs that really popped out. And if you got into sales, that was even more excellent, because now you're at the forefront of a company and you're representing the company because you're that first point of contact. And you would go out and about, you would meet people in person, you dress up, dress into the nines, just everything, have your hair and nails done. And it was great all the way around. The money was fantastic because now you're salary and not really hourly, because you're a executive and you're a salesperson and all of those wonderful things. But a lot of driving in the car, a lot of time alone, just a lot of those things. Now, let's fast forward into where we are today. 2020 really changed things. I want to say for the better, but in some cases for the worse. I think for our younger population, things changed for the worse, because now they didn't have that interaction like we used to have when we had jobs back in the day. However, they ended up taking something that was a bad situation into a good situation, because now here we come with this virtual reality, these virtual, meetings and things like that, where you still have to show up at your very best. Now, people may not be able to see your whole body and what you have on, but for the most part, you still have to show up and put your best foot forward. And it can be a little tricky virtually, because you have to think about the background, your surroundings, how you're looking on camera. Is your nails done? I know in some of my videos, my nails weren't done, and I am working to perfect that. And so when you're an older person and you're trying to get into technology, that can be really challenging. Now, I knew how to email. I could type because I took typing classes in school and all of that. I took computer classes when the computers first came out. But nowadays, things are so far past that and so much different. And if you're not able to keep up, honestly, you will be left behind. So I was talking to my cousin last night about this, because she's in her mid-50s. Actually, I think she just turned 56 on the 16th of this month. And so she's still working jobs, and she feels like that's a solid job where you have to go into work and actually work these jobs. And she, she's feeling really good in her career, and that's good. But I was trying to tell her, as beautiful as she is, as talented as she is, as smart as she is, there are jobs that she can do right from the comfort of her own home. She has a son that she takes care of, and it would just be good for her to be home with him, as well as being able to advance in her more professional career. Now, I know some of you are thinking, oh, 56, you're in your 50s, whatever. You should be thinking about retirement. Well, let me tell you, retirement is not the same as it was when we were coming up. They would always tell us, you need to save for retirement, you need to save for retirement. That is just not the case anymore, because people are coming out of retirement and they're working. And we're thinking about, why is that? Because, of course, the economy is short of many things. Jobs, income, just everything. And so people are just trying to work and find their place and where they fit in this new realm of living. And so I want to talk to you today about professional careers, I did some research on some different careers. I'm working a very professional career where I'm kind of in between. I work at home most of the time, and then I work out in the field, which I love because I love that interaction. You feel like you need that interaction. Being at home is just not going to work all the time because it really turns you into an introverted person, and that's just not me. I love talking. I love being in front of people. I love the camaraderie. I love all of that. And so I want to be able to continue to get that, and I really love sales. Sales is just number one. I've been a salesperson since I was 14 years old. Started out selling magazines and then just kind of went to school and moved my way up the sales ladder. So that is what we're going to talk about today. Not particularly sales, but we're going to talk about professional careers. So if you're over the age of 50 and you're still working, or you're thinking, should I do a career change? I'm 50 years old. You know, I'm used to working this job, but it's just not jiving for me anymore. What can I do? This is the video for you. So keep watching. More video footage coming up. All right, guys, so I got my wine. Let's wrap up this conversation and talk a little bit more about the careers for women over 50. All right, guys, so let's just talk about some things that are apparent in our lives when we are 50 plus in age. Just some things that just isn't the same as when we were in our 20s and 30s and we used to work these jobs. Okay, so health-wise, for some of us, and then I'm not speaking for the majority, but for some, and I'm basically coming from the aspect of myself because this is things that are happening with me. My eyesight isn't the same. I'm thinking about even getting laser surgery because my dad got it, and he doesn't wear glasses anymore. He wears readers from time to time, but he really doesn't need his glasses. And this glare in this camera is killing me every time I record this. So anyway, I am considering that for 2024, but just not being able to properly even see sometimes, and I'm talking about the aging eye, it can get a little challenging when you are working those jobs and you're in front of the computer or you're executive assistant, you got to type something out and that kind of thing. The other thing is we are just a little bit slower than we used to be at age 20 and 30. Now, I know a lot of us would like to believe that we are just the same as we were, if not healthier, blah, blah, blah. And in some cases, that can be true. But I'm talking about the majority of us. We just tend to slow down a little bit in just our activity. So being able to show up to a lot of those meetings in person with our briefcase and you know, if you live in a colder climate like me here in Minnesota, it's not always great to go out in the dead of winter and do those things. And not everyone wants you in their office to do those things. And for the most part, when you do go to someone's office, they kind of shy you away because they don't know if you're sick since COVID-19 happened. You know, people are really skeptical about meeting with people in person. So that's when the virtual meetings become apparent and very valuable with that respect. So let's talk a little bit about that and how that resonates with us that are 50 plus years old. Now, some of us don't like being in front of the camera. Let's just say that because there's no one here in this room. It feels like I'm talking alone, even though you guys are going to see this video and I'm conversating with you. It doesn't feel right. It's like we're talking to ourselves. And we all know, growing up, there was a thing about people that talk to themselves. As long as you don't answer yourself, right? Anyway, I'm just joking. So, we know that this is just a little awkward and just a little different way of doing things. The virtual meetings, just making sure that your surroundings are good. Now, there are fabulous virtual backgrounds out there and stuff that you can upload to use as your background that works very well for virtual meetings if you didn't have time to clean up or whatever. But people like you to be your authentic self. That's the new word now. They want you to show up as your authentic self. And so in order to do that, you got to use your own surroundings and your own background and decide which area of my house is going to deliver me a good background. Now, I'm not quite at the angle that I want to be here, but this is the area that's going to work today. So, and then also, people like to use a lot of filters. I've seen a lot of that on social media sites. I'm not on Facebook anymore, but people used a lot of filters in their pictures. I was one of them. And I didn't know how to edit or anything, so sometimes some of those filters were awful. And you can still do filters when you're doing virtual meetings, but it doesn't seem like you're showing up as your authentic self. So they don't want any filters. They want you to be unfiltered, show up as your authentic self, and, you know, come to the meeting. Come as you are, because we need you at this meeting. So that is another thing. Now, these jobs, what do they pay? I know 50 plus, you're kind of wondering, that seems a little sketchy because I don't know if I can even do that, let alone what will I be paid if I did something like that. Trust and believe, it is the same, if not astronomically more than what we used to get paid. I know. Eye opener for me, that was a big eye opener for me. Like, what? I can actually get paid 6 figures? Sitting behind a camera, working from home? How can that be? And you know what? It's just about taking your time, making sure you do things correctly, really paying attention to your surroundings, really paying attention to what you do. Now, I love vlogging, by the way. And the reason why I love vlogging is because growing up, I wasn't the best speller. I could talk my butt off, but I could not spell for anything. I would spell things the way it sounded, and you know, these tricky words nowadays, sometimes you can spell them one way, but you say them another way. So I'm better at talking. I'm a more action person. I can do things hands-on that they say back in the day. I'm more of a hands-on person, and that is kind of the way it's going. Now, let me tell you why this new innovative way of our future and to look at careers is going to work for us. Let me tell you why. A lot of us have went to college, okay? But a lot of us didn't go back to college to kind of finish that master's degree or whatever. So you're thinking, oh, I only got this and we are actually coming from a negative perspective because that is not the way it is in this new society. I'm telling you, experience is the best teacher, and experience goes a long way. So if you have 20, 30 years behind your belt working in a particular area, it could be finance, it could be sales, it could be all of those things, you're going to bring a very valuable asset to an organization. So I know we get a little intimidated when we look at those job descriptions, and a lot of them says bachelor's degree, master's degree, doctorate degree, all those things. But look really closely, because a lot of times all those things are preferred, and then usually on that second line, it tells you that accumulative experience is also something that they look at. Now, for me, I was always told, yeah, you can work a place with experience and you can be high paying salary, but then you're stuck because only that organization is going to accept you. That's not true. That's not true anymore. The wider majority of organizations are looking at people with experience. They need people with experience because that experience, along with what you've learned in school, is excellent. And some organizations are investing in their employees, and they're sending you to school. They're sending you to things like Leadership Academy, and they want you to join those things because they want you to sharpen your skills and your learning. But what you bring to the table, people, 50-plus-year-old people, I'm telling you, and I'm going to even say 40-plus-year-old people, because I know that not only 50-plus-year-old people is watching my channel. I did a statistics, and it said between the ages of 45 and 55 are the people that view this channel the most. So I just wanted to say, for that age category, don't get down on yourself. You have the skills and the abilities of what it takes to go to the next level and really be an asset to our younger generation. So I want you to think about that. We're going to dive in a little bit more and get to some nitty gritty, but I just wanted to put that thing on your mind about if you want to change careers, now may be a perfect time to do it. Okay guys, I want to finish up this video, but I want to get into the nitty gritty of these different positions. So as I scroll through the positions, I'm just going to talk through the different ones that they have nowadays, so that way you can get a feel on what positions would be good working from home in 2024. Keep watching. But I want to go through the different positions that are available that you may want to be interested in getting into. So let's get into it. All right, guys, let's get into this video. But first, I got my tea, so I hope you guys got your beverage because we are going to talk today about these careers. I'm going to enjoy that while we have this talk. And it's herbal tea, by the way. Anyway, let's get into it. So, the different careers that is out there today is quite interesting. That you can do. So first I want to say, if you are over the age of, let's say 40, 50, and you want to go back to school, going back to school for you is going to be much different than it is for someone in their 20s or just getting out of high school going to school. Because they're going to school in hopes to have a career, to make money, and live their life. But you're going back to freshen up and polish up some skills that you may already have. So anyway, you may have already have computer skills, but you don't have them the way the computers are today. So you may need to go back to college and take some courses and classes just to freshen up on those things. Or you may be going for your master's degree and now you're ready to settle down into your career because you want to start your own private practice or whatever. You want to be an entrepreneur. People are doing that too. So never feel bad about going back to school in your 40s and your 50s. I know a lot of people talk about that and they're like, why am I going to spend all that money and go back to school? I mean, you don't have to each his own, but it depends on where you want to go and what you want to do. You're just brushing up on the skills you already have. All right. So the highest paying work from home positions, they average around 6 figures. So that's good. Psychologist, they got a Java developer, which is interesting. Information technology, of course, IT. That was popular back when I was younger. Front-end developers, software engineers, and medical writers. So a lot of these different computer people can do, but I want to tell you, because I work in the healthcare industry for my job during the day. And so for me, working in the healthcare industry, I could work from home because I was working as a family advisor where families would look online for senior living communities and then they would get me and then I would advise them on which communities was a good one to look at in their area according to what they are looking for and what they needed. So I would have to qualify them and then we got into where you can tour and all of that and I sent them a bunch of listings and that was a very lucrative position but also rewarding because I was helping families find a home. So that's something you can do. And I'm sure there's all types of jobs in the healthcare industry, in the retail industry that function in that way. So make sure you're looking through that and not counting yourself out of those opportunities. All right. So let's talk about voiceovers. Now, I looked at this career a while back because I love to talk and I figured, oh, this would be good for me to do a voiceover job. So I looked on Amazon. They had some voiceover stuff. People could get jobs. You just upload samples, audio samples and all that. And I thought it was for me, but I never got into it, never had the opportunity to do it. And I like writing books. So I'm like, I could be a voiceover for my own books. So I started a YouTube channel where I am going to have my own book club and then I will have the opportunity to write the books or finish writing books that I have started. And so I really wanted to get into that because that was one of my New Year's resolutions. So a voiceover are also known as voice actors, artists, and they are auditory performers who work on everything from like video games, commercials, and audiobooks, apps, and e-learning courses. So that's good. And then speaking of e-learning courses, if you have a degree in teaching or you like any form of teaching, you can also do that virtually. They have virtual classrooms where you can teach nowadays. So that is interesting. And I'm saying this because a lot of us, when we get in our older years, we're slowing down a little bit. And some of us may have disabilities and we can't just jump in the car and just go out like we need to and go to a job every single day. That is hard and that takes a big toll on your body. And I know being active is one thing you definitely want to do in your older years, but that doesn't mean putting yourself in danger. So think about these different positions. Now let's talk about another one, which is an influencer. Kind of like what I'm doing on these YouTube channels and things, but it's a person that influences another. Do you remember that movie? I don't know if you've seen it. And if you haven't, you gotta go get it. And I'll probably, if I find it, I will have it in the box right here. But That movie was called Keeping Up with the Joneses. I think they made a remix of it, but the very first one was amazing because I love sales and marketing. So it was basically these individual people that was put into these families and they had to market themselves. So basically, the clothes that they wore, the shoes they wore, the car they drove, the house they lived in, all of that was a ploy to get other people to want to buy that. And they ended up moving into this neighborhood and really being the popular people in the neighborhood. The girl was popular in the high school, and the boy was popular as well. And they were scoring high score points. And then there was a sales manager who would come every month or every 3 months and check up on the family, and they would sit down and give them all their scores and their stats and how they're doing and how sales are increasing. I thought that was wonderful. I was like, man, if that was a real job, oh my gosh, I would absolutely love it. So anyway, if you haven't seen that movie, go and watch it. I could watch that over and over again because there was so many realistic points that was made in that movie that makes sense in today's world and how we do things. It just makes sense because everyone is after social media influencers. People like that. They want to know the real deal on certain things. You know, people used to be behind the camera and they would have paid actors to do that stuff, but nowadays people like people that's keeping it real. So that's just the fact in the matter. So those are just a couple of careers, a few careers that I wanted to highlight in this video. Of course, there's more. So if you have more careers that you know about, I would love to hear about them. And I'm sure everyone watching would love to hear about them too. So go ahead and leave that information in the box below so that we can research that. And maybe we'll have a part 2 of this. So thank you for watching Reviews and Great Lifestyle. I hope you enjoyed this video today. Alright guys, I'm interested in hearing your take on today's video. Talk to me a little bit about some careers that I may not have mentioned on this video today. And let's see how we fit in. Cheers to us women 50 and over.